Hello and welcome once again to another edition of the I'm Always Right Sports Podcast. I am your host, as always, the mouth of Michigan, Rob Mendyka. With me, as always, my co-host, the Merckzone, Mike Merkel.
I'm right here.
And we have a lucky treat for you guys, our resident NBA insider, Mr. Kyle Budzinowski. Kyle, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a huge, monumental episode this week. We are at episode 10. That's right, official double digits for our weekly show that hits live every Monday at 7 in the morning. You can count on it like clockwork. It is a huge, monumental moment for all of us here at the show. Em, the brain, will be with us later on in the episode, so stay tuned for that. But we're going to hop right into it, guys, and we had to bring Kyle into here because the biggest news coming out of the sports world is clearly this NBA trade deadline talk. There's so much that's happened in the past couple weeks that it's really kind of taken everybody by storm. It's really taken away from the Super Bowl buzz. And if you haven't heard our Super Bowl episode, be sure to go to our quick hitter episode 2 to hear all our analysis on that. But anyway, Kyle, I'm going to start with you. Kristaps Porzingis is now a Dallas Maverick, okay? That was a huge trade for both teams, really. The Knicks, as far as trading away and establishing some guys and bringing back some talent on expiring deals, so they'll have 2 max slots going into this free agency period where guys like Kevin Durant, Kyrie could be a free agent. They could be in line for the Anthony Davis kind of stuff if they choose to be. As well as for the Dallas Mavericks, now you're taking a guy like Porzingis, who they think, along with Luka, their young rookie, they could really have a solid 1-2 punch there. And obviously Rick Kyle, one hell of a basketball coach, as we here in Detroit know. But just give me your initial reaction on the Kristaps trade, because I think me and Mike were both a little surprised that they were able to move him, and the Knicks are sitting pretty right now.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of winners in this deal. It's obviously such a big trade, but I think first off, with Kristaps, he wanted to be traded. He didn't want to be in New York.
Absolutely.
He's injured for pretty much the whole season now, but for the upcoming season now, he's got Luka as his teammate. Dennis Smith Jr., I think that's a win for him because he wasn't the man on the team anymore with Luka coming in.
Right. Absolutely.
He kind of was being shadowed by Luka. You got the Knicks guards that got traded, the 2 Michigan men.
Right, yeah, you got Trey Burke and Tim. I mean, let's look at this for a second here. They basically swapped starting lineups, and I think, Mike, you made that point to me earlier, and I didn't even realize it at the time, but they really basically swapped lineups, and really, in a lot of ways, I think this is a great move for the Dallas Mavericks because, like you said, they do get Kristaps back. The Knicks, though, I think short term, right, it benefits the Mavs as far as building, and you got a superstar, right, that you can point to for next season and say, we got Kristaps, right? But for the Knicks, I think this is the first move they've made, and in a long time for Knicks fans to go, okay, now we have a little something, right? You get out of the contract of Tim Hardaway that they stupidly signed in the first place, right? Yeah. You accumulate bad contracts that you're going to get rid of. So you're going to have 2 max slots to go sign 2 premier type players from anybody in the league right now. I think they're set up really, really well, and I think overall this is definitely a win for the Knicks more than it is Dallas.
Yeah.
Mike, how do you feel?
Especially with the fact that the Knicks are very bad this season.
Right.
I won't use the S word for anything. They're very bad this season, though. So getting a very high draft pick also, you can maybe hit someone like an R.J. Barrett and or a Zion Williamson if you can draft in the top 3 with the lottery.
Right.
However, this is one of those make or break trades because in the case, you do open up 2 max slots, but what if in the instance that KD or Kyrie don't want to go to the Knicks?
Right, and that's obviously something, but
then it's like,
I think they make this trade if they know something's got to be.
I mean, obviously, I could see they probably have something in the works. They probably had inside talks and like, hey, you're probably going to want to come here, right? Okay, now we'll make this trade.
Please.
But in the instance that KD wins a championship, because actually, I like it here, I don't want to leave. In that case, and then Kyrie's like, oh, I want to go play, I want to stay in Boston or I want to go somewhere else. Right. That's not the Knicks. Then you're looking around like, we have 2 max opens, but no one wants to come here. Right. And who are you going to pay, like Klay Thompson a max or something?
That's somebody that I think is probably going to get a max deal. When NBA free agency kind of hits, we'll kind of go more into detail on that. But, I agree with you 100%, Mike. Now let's just segue for a minute here about the actual trade that happened, right? Because Kristaps obviously isn't going to play this season, is what the Mavs came out and said. So they're planning on not being very good this year in order to build for the future. And I think some of the pieces they got in that trade will help them kind of coast. Tim Hardaway is a stud. I like Trey Burke, especially with Hardaway together. They have that chemistry going. So they have some pieces there, along with Luka, obviously. But let's shift now from one superstar big man to probably the biggest big man out there, besides probably the Greek Freak, and that's Anthony Davis. Him and his agent basically coming up publicly and saying that they are not going to sign an extension with the New Orleans Pelicans in a year and a half. They're going to reject any offer, and they'd like to be traded. It appears that the Lakers are the front runners as far as who his preferred destination. He said he wouldn't mind going to the Knicks. He said he wouldn't mind going to Boston, theoretically. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of teams in play here for this guy's services, but Kyle, once again, our resident NBA insider, what do you think about this? Because I wasn't necessarily taken aback by it, but the fact that they just came out and straight up announced it to the whole world kind of took me by a little surprise.
Yeah, I think the only reason they are doing that is because they have one destination that they really want to be in, and that's LA. He said, his agent said, his father said, we don't want to go to the Celtics. We don't care about the Celtics. They said no matter if he gets traded to whatever team after the 2020 season, he wants to go to LA. And for LA, you're kind of in a little situation because you don't exactly have to trade for him. Like, you don't have to give away your young players like Kuzma and Lonzo, and just hope that and pretty much know that he'll sign for the 2020 season. But if you don't do that, then you have to worry about LeBron aging and not getting Clay. If Clay's like, oh, he's not going to come this year, then I don't want to go there. So there's a lot of there's a lot of ups and downs, right? And then you make a great point, right? Is that if he does want to go to LA, however, I think it's very similar to the Kawhi Leonard situation, to where he's in Toronto, and Toronto gave up a lot to get him, but they're really doing a great job of trying to sell him on the city, on the team, on the organization. So if, say for instance, and the Celtics really have no incentive whatsoever to trade for Anthony Davis right now. No. Not only can they not, number one, they have no reason to, because they're going to give up all these assets, and I think they're prepared to do so. But if you're the Lakers, you are trying as your damnedest to get Anthony Davis right now. I heard a rumor out there that they tried trading Lonzo, Kuzma, Rondo, and a first-round pick, right? Was that, and Michael Beasley too? Yeah, Michael Beasley, right? So really you're getting you're hoping franchise cornerstones in Lonzo and Kuzma, along with a first-round pick, and then two aging guys, right? For LA, I understand the urgency, right, to try and get him. Yes. But at the same time, is it worth this? And I'm going to ask you, Mike, because you're the Laker guy and you follow LeBron so closely. But I mean, is it worth it for the Lakers? Because if you do this, right, you're hampering the rest of your team big time, right? You're losing You're losing 2 point guards at that point. You're losing Kuzma, who you think who could be a star. Not so much the first round pick, and Michael Beasley is whatever. But I understand what you're getting back. Yes. But the fact that you're going to completely deplete your roster as a whole, I don't know if just LeBron and Anthony Davis with 3 other just scrubs, because that's what they'd be, is scrubs at that point out there, I don't think that's enough.
Well, I don't like the trade that they gave out originally. Right. I think I'm actually reading some stuff right now that this trade scenario, including Lonzo, Kuzma, Ingram, Zubac, and a number 1 pick, or 2 first-round picks, I think that could be, if you're the Pelicans and you're looking, you get Lonzo, Kuzma, Ingram, Zubac, and 2 first-round picks the next 2 years. Right. I don't know how you can, 1, start passing that up, and 2, if that's the case, then you could have a starting lineup of Rondo, Pope/Hart, whoever you like more can start. Right. LeBron, and then Davis can play the 4 or 5, and then you can have someone like Wagner, and then you have Tyson Chandler too, right? And stuff. And then you have a core starting 5 that you can work with, and then you can start. Maybe you can trade away a few pieces and get some good role players in there. You can free agency.
Right. Obviously, well, here's the thing that the Lakers, I think, are kind of hurting for, right, is 2 things. Number 1, the Pelicans have no incentive right now to make a trade. Yeah, 0. Because they know that the Celtics hold 3 first-round picks. They've got people that they could take back, including Jason Tatum, which I know they floated out there. You know what I mean? So, and they're going to have cap flexibility, where the Lakers, which have done a pretty damn good job, I would say, of setting themselves up for a position like this. At the same time, if you're the Lakers and the Pelicans kind of go through this trade deadline and say, no, we're going to wait and see and let everybody make an offer, right?
Yeah.
That's where you're hurting, because even if he doesn't want to go there, say he does go to Boston, all right, now you're going a whole nother year, and now you're like in a situation where it's going to get a little sketchy, you know what I mean? And there could be reasons, and he could maybe like Boston after he goes there. There's a lot of doubt if you don't get him now.
Yeah. Also with so when they would get him, if that's the case, if he does go to Boston,
right,
that would be 2 years from now, and LeBron would only have 2 years left on his contract.
Right.
Now then you're looking at upwards. He would be 36.
Right.
Going in at 37.
And we get it. He's a genetic freak. We understand that. But
at some time, especially for
happen.
NBA guys, like there's a difference between Brady and the position he plays that he can play till he's 45 and be perfectly fine, and LeBron playing till he's 40 something.
And as we've seen it too, right? This Lakers team, as it's constructed right now, without LeBron James, it's a glaring hole, and we all notice it, right?
Absolutely.
They're losing to teams like the Cavs and stuff. It's unacceptable, right? Mm-hmm. But the fact that he has such an impact right now, still, it's not going to go on forever. I know we like to think that it will, but everybody, even Michael Jordan, at the end of it, was not Michael Jordan anymore. And LeBron needs to be out there for 40 minutes a game for the Lakers to succeed.
And they also LeBron has never had, and you can, I think, argue D. Wade a little bit, but he's never had a talent like Anthony Davis on his team.
Absolutely not.
Ever.
Absolutely
you can
not.
look at anybody else, any of the greats, you can look at Jordan, had Pippen. Yeah. You can look at Kobe, had Shaq for a little bit, or Pau Gasol. You have all these teams, and you had LeBron. He did have D. Wade for a couple years, I'll give you that.
Well, but he had D. Wade plus Bosh.
Plus Bosh. Yeah, and then that kind of weighs it down, I think.
Which I think you have, with those two equals Pippen, I think, in that regard.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Where, like, in that case, and then later in his third and fourth year there, Bosh was getting hurt and stuff, and then that's where it started declining. And Kyrie, no offense, but when he first got there and they won, I think Kyrie's nowhere near.
Kyrie's going to be a name to watch for all of us here in the coming weeks, especially if he doesn't re-sign with Boston and he goes somewhere. And he's already said he's open to a reunion with LeBron. That's a whole other thing. But let's shift now a little bit local, and as far as the Pistons go, right? You see teams like the Knicks who haven't been good in forever. You see guys like Boston who are setting themselves up, who are already winning, but now have set themselves up for even more, right? The Lakers are setting themselves up to kind of make another run at it with LeBron plus whoever, okay? You're seeing a lot of these teams positioned, even Dallas, right? They hit on their draft pick, and they got Kristaps, they got pieces in place, and then you look at a team like the Detroit Pistons where you got bad salary cap, okay? You traded for what you thought was a superstar, and let me be clear. Blake Griffin's played pretty damn well this season. I think he's been, I think he's looked the best he has in the past 4 years. He's healthy, he's been effective, but you paid Reggie Jackson a ton of money, you paid Andre Drummond a ton of money, you paid John Lure a ton of money, you got a whole bunch of these guys, and now you're not able to give away these people anymore because of how bad a contract they're signed to, which completely takes you out of any conversation for any of these big guys. I'm not saying Anthony Davis is going to come here, no doubt, but what I am saying is, you mean to tell me right now you couldn't have taken a flyer and tried to throw something together for Kristaps, knowing that you could have maybe possibly, you know what I mean, got the best years left out of Blake Griffin out of him, you know what I mean? Because let's be real, Kristaps is a better player than Andre Drummond.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's just those pieces, and I think it's frustrating because now you look at teams that are trying to make a move, and then the Pistons where you're trying to win with a team that you know you can't win with right now.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's extremely frustrating. I don't know how, I mean, Kyle, how do you feel about that? Because for me, it's like we're sitting in this pattern where we're just kind of rotating our wheels and we're just kind of spinning in place, but nothing's actually happening because you can't do anything right now.
I know, it's really frustrating because taking away all the bad contracts, all this stuff, is the one thing that they're doing is they're going to farther and farther towards their best two superstars are going to be the center and the four.
Right.
And that is completely against what the league is turning against.
That's like, we mentioned that.
And like, Warriors, they're greats. It's just 3-point shooting, and it's just facts. Centers are going to be shooting threes now. Blake Griffin, he can shoot threes, but he's like a down low guy, just with Andre Drummond.
Exactly.
And that's why Kristaps and Anthony Davis are so good. They're so versatile. They can spread out the floor so greatly. And so when you're moving towards this down low, who's your best 3-point shooter? Reggie Bullock, then you're giving all these bad contracts. You're just moving away from what the league, and you're never you never get underneath it, right? That's how the Warriors, they drafted well, and you're missing draft picks. Mike, same question to you. I mean, like Kyle mentioned, a lot of great points where the league is completely shifting away. And we've mentioned this before on the show, but he's right. And clearly the Pistons' way isn't working, okay? No. They barely beat the Mavericks a couple days ago with none of their starting lineup even starting. So, I mean, where do you go if you're the Pistons?
I think it's a lot of trouble. But you know what? You know what really bothers me more is just how like say like 15 years ago,
Yeah.
we had a championship team,
Right.
right? All this great stuff was happening for the Pistons, and since about 2010-ish, like it's just like you
Been
look
a
at
total
Detroit.
disaster.
It's not as bad as like what you probably look at other teams as like the Lions would. Like you go, oh, it's just the Lions. I mean, the Pistons are like a franchise,
Right, a pillar franchise.
Yeah.
I mean, they have championships to
but
their name.
right
That's
now,
successful.
especially in the past like 5 years, it seems like they're kind of just like how Cleveland was.
They exist.
They just kind of are there.
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
play them and you're like, we could probably beat them.
Right.
And the problem is, you have a team like Cleveland with LeBron James on the team, and LeBron can't recruit people
Right.
and can't get trades going because no one wants to come to Cleveland.
Right, because they know.
And realistically, you look at it and you go, who really wants to come to Detroit?
Nobody.
And that's
the problem.
I think
That's
the biggest
absolutely-
problem is you go and you're like, you could go to LA, you could go to Golden State, you can go all these teams, and you go, but Detroit, it's cold and
Yeah,
it's
I
just
know.
not
I
good
get
there.
it. I
It's
totally
like an
get it.
atmosphere there.
All right, guys. Let's shift over from the NBA now to the not so much NFL, but we're going to shift to the football world. Obviously, the Super Bowl is coming up. As of this, it would be yesterday when you guys are hearing it. So make sure you listen to that. But the Alliance of American Football, it's a new startup league. It's got some guys from the NFL, some former coaches like Mike Martz, Mike Singletary, Steve Spurrier is going to be there. And basically, what it is, it's a league that's it's a startup league. It's going to give guys that maybe are kind of on the edge, fringe roster players in the NFL an opportunity to have more live game action, right? So I'm going to start off with you, Mike. I mean, it starts right after the NFL season. Each team kind of gets assigned players based off of what NFL team they come from, or what have you, what college team based off location. Are you interested in the league? Because I think it's an interesting concept, and
Yeah.
I hope it kind of sticks around, but I think the quality of play is going to be where it's going to get me whether or not I'm going to watch.
I would also agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, quality of place. Football is definitely my number one sport. Like,
Right.
it's like not very close to me, really. I mean, basketball's there, but
Right.
like it's not very close. Football is my number one sport,
Right.
and I think I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I say that because I find a lot of pleasure in like these guys who, especially because they're all on an equal playing field.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's not like you're not playing like these great athletes that like should have been drafted, but they have to go to developmental first. Like, it's just kind of like the undrafted names.
Right,
and it's
they're
like,
trying to make a splash.
yeah, they're
right?
trying to make the splash and everything. And those are some of the better guys that you can find too. Like
Yeah.
people like Philip Lindsay for the Denver Broncos was undrafted.
Well, and that's the thing.
And like
And
you
I
can
think-
find some of these talents
Right, absolutely.
in this sport.
And I think Bob Quinn even mentioned in his end of the year press conference where he's interested in it, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like he's going to send his scouts down there to look at players in this league when they play and have live game tape, right? It's a huge thing for these players to get more tape out there, more film, to really grow inside a team, right? That has that same mentality with coaches and trainers that have been in the league before to prepare them to maybe they can take that next step, right? Go, are you interested in this league? I mean, like, I know that we've talked before where it's kind of one of those things where it's kind of been on the radar, but CBS is really pushing it, and it could be something really fun for the fans, and kind of that break in between the NFL and like the draft and the free agency and all that stuff. So, are you interested at all in the league, or are you kind of like, screw it, I'm NFL all the way?
No, definitely. I'd definitely be interested in it, especially when, let's say, you have a decent year in college. Say you have a decent to good year. You don't know if you're gonna get drafted. You don't go drafted, and this is a definite league you could participate in. And if you develop and
Right.
fall out, this is a way to show these scouts like that I can play in an NFL playing field.
Right.
Definitely, and I would watch. I mean, of course, if like the games aren't as interesting as football
Right.
or college, then maybe it just depends how interesting they are.
It's going to depend on the gameplay, obviously, right? And you're going to see, I know, like Mike Martz is a coach, so you see a lot of 7-step dropbacks. That's a funny joke for us Lions fans out there who remember him as offense coordinator. But I'm going to ask both of you guys here, what's the ceiling, right? Like, what do we want? Like, we want to see good gameplay, right? But what's the ceiling? Like, the XFL is another thing that's coming in the next couple of years. They're going to look to kind of rival the NFL, right? They're going to try to actively take players and move them over to the XFL. I don't know if this league is the same thing, but what is the ceiling? Is it going to be minor leagues, or is it going to be something similar to what the XFL hopes to be?
I have some interesting thoughts on that because I think, and I'm going to go more of the rules committee here.
Yeah.
I'm going to go into this direction where I think in the NFL people are scared to make a big rule change because you're going to be like, oh, we want to just like say you want to cut out instant replay or something for what just happened. Just let the referees do everything. And then you're like, but there's no instant replay. Then like, what if this happens or this happens? And so you want to get these rule changes and you don't know how to do it. The interesting thing that you could do is you could have this league and you could implement some of these different rule changes. You know, you could do, hey, you can challenge after the 2-minute warning. And just kind of see like, how, are there any problems?
And there are some rule changes already. Like, there's no kickoffs in this league, right? Everybody just starts off at the 25-yard line, just like a touchback. You know, some of these things are different than in the NFL.
And then if it starts working and everyone's like enjoying it and ratings are good, then you're like, maybe we don't need kickoffs. Maybe we can review it under the 2 minutes.
So you're looking at them as kind of like an NFL Europe minor league type system for the NFL, right? So it's a AAA type system.
Basically,
they're able to test things, test new ways the game are played, and obviously get an evaluation of players that maybe were undrafted.
And I think as a totality, I think it's actually perfect. And I actually like this minor league system better than almost any other minor league system that we have, because you can just bring players in, you can test stuff as like the higher ups. You can be like, let's test this and see if this works. And you can get all this talent, and then you could find some future, maybe even Hall of Famers just from this league as a whole.
Well, if you see somebody dominating and really separating themselves from the pack, you know what I mean? And then you go ahead and you obviously, it's a whole nother stream of game tape, of film, and everything else against guys that are what you think are similar status and talent levels, and then this guy's rises above that. That's clearly an advantage for any football team that's willing to look at it. Kyle, same question. What's the ceiling? What are you looking for out of this league? Because Mike's thinking minor league system, which I think is awesome. Do you think it's going to be like a rival thing, or do you think it's going to be just a step below the NFL, which will allow the NFL to kind of have their own farm system?
Yeah, I definitely think it's just going to be like a minor league or like a G League for the basketball. I think it's just going to be a way for players who weren't as like scouted before they really can develop, and as scouts see them, they could eventually one day move up. I don't ever think there'll be a rival. Like as with the XFL, I don't think there'll actually be a rival with the with the.
Well, that's NFL. The goal, though, right? That's their point.
Goal.
No one's ever, I don't think, truly going to be able to rival the NFL. They're too big a juggernaut.
But like as you have in basketball. There's the big three. I don't know if you know what the big three is.
Yeah,
it's like we're like older basketball players who might have been injured or just couldn't really make it. In that
they're veterans or they no longer can play in the league, but they can still play.
Yeah, I don't think it'll have a rival. I think it'll be cool to watch, but I don't think it'll ever be rival. But definitely with the AAF, it'll definitely be a good farming system for the NFL.
Absolutely,
that's actually a great idea. I think it would be just like the big three.
Like
it'll be something that
that's
like
a great comparison.
You know, because it's like on over the summer and whatever. So you're at home and there's nothing to watch, and you'd be like, I can just throw a big 3 game on or something. Like you're here on a Sunday night or whatever, and you're like, oh, there's nothing on TV, no shows are on or whatever, and then you'd be like, I guess the AAL is on. So then you can just throw a game and kind of just have that background.
Just so everybody knows too, every team in the AAL has professional teams assigned to them, right? So the Lions team is the San Diego Fleet for us locally here. So any person that was released by them can be then sent down to the AAL, and the San Diego Fleet automatically get to claim them. Basically, they're part of their team system almost. I guess is the best way of putting that. But I think it's going to be something like you guys said. I think it's a minor league system. I think that it's going to be a place where undrafted rookies get to go. Guys that are fringe players that are late round picks, 6th, 7th round picks that maybe get cut at the end of the year and really allow themselves to develop. I think that as long as it doesn't turn into the UFL where it's just a whole bunch of old guys trying to play like the Jeff Garcias and the Dante Culpeppers of the world, I think that's where, as long as it's young, maybe an age limit maybe should be put in place at some point. Like you got to be under 30 to play in there or something.
Also, don't change the rules too. I'm big into rule changing, but don't be like Canadian football where it's like 3 down.
No,
like you have to play a normal standardized NFL game. But you want to change some of the rules in there.
Test it out.
But don't take away. Don't take away pass interference or something. Just try it.
Starts in the AAL, then goes to preseason. If it works in preseason,
it could be. It's just a
I think that's a tremendous idea. Okay, guys, that's going to be it for part 1 of episode 10 of this episode. The Brain Emily Merkel is going to be joining us for part 2, so don't miss it, and we will be right back.
Hey guys, it's your favorite member of the I'm Always Right team, Emily the Brain, coming to remind you to check us out on social media. Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, Twitter. You can find us all at I'm Always Right, or our handle is I'm Always Right PC on all of the social media platforms.
Hey guys, this is Rob, also reminding you that we are now on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play Music and YouTube. So be sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and to look us up by typing in I'm Always Right Sports Podcast. That's the I'm Always Right Sports Podcast, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and now YouTube. Be sure to like, subscribe. Thank you for all the support. Now here's part 2 of this week's episode. Okay, and welcome back to part 2 of our monumental episode 10. That's right, double digits, people. That's right, and we welcome to the set the brain, the lovely Emily Merkel. Emily, how are we feeling today?
Great.
Awesome. Welcome back. All right. So we thank Kyle Budzanowski for all that great NFL and NBA inside knowledge. We appreciate him. Always a fan of the show. We're going to be now shifting over to the world of professional wrestling. Obviously, the Royal Rumble and NXT TakeOvers, which we talked about last week on the show in our predictions. Now, this week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago, I'm with my timeline, but we're going to talk now Seth Rollins won the Rumble, the men's Rumble. Becky Lynch, the man, won the women's Rumble in very controversial fashion, coming in for Lana. If you didn't see it, make sure to check out the WWE Network to check it out now. But I'm gonna start with you. Both Rumble winners, right? Where we kind of thought that was probably where they were gonna go. Mm-hmm. I know we didn't predict that necessarily, but it wasn't like a big shock. You know, Mike may have went 2 for 2 on that one, but. Was it the right call? Was it the right call for both Seth and Becky in their respective divisions to win the Rumble this year?
I mean, I was rooting for Seth. I'm glad Seth won, so in my opinion, yes, on that one. Mm-hmm. That one I feel like was a little bit less controversial.
Right, yeah, I thought they did a nice job.
I think when we did the last episode, I could be wrong, but I think I probably thought Charlotte was going to win.
Yeah, I think we both
had Charlotte.
I think we both had Charlotte, and you and I both had Rollins.
Yes.
I went over 2 on that one, apparently.
Yeah,
because you had McIntyre.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Rob just likes to be different. He likes to be special.
Yeah, because if I'm right, then it's like, oh, all right. Yeah.
I don't think it was a bad move. Becky's been getting a huge push. I can see it. People are really behind Becky right now.
Yeah.
I think the controversial part of it makes it a little bit more interesting. Mm-hmm. Do I know if she should take the whole title when it comes to...
She's facing Rousey, right? We know that Rollins is going to be facing Brock. So, I mean, you look at those 2 matchups, it's kind of what's been rumored for a while. I don't know if they're going to bring Charlotte into that match against Rousey and Becky. It's going to be a situation we monitor. And then when it's officially announced, we'll probably go over it on the show. So, we're not going to go too deep into that now, just in case they don't do it. I don't want to get mad at them for no reason. But, Mike, same question. I know you picked the winners, but do you think it was the right call? Do you agree with how they did it, how they got there, what they did, and, kind of give me a rundown on your thoughts right after the show ended? You're like, okay, I'm good, or
Oh yeah, I was definitely good. I sat down and I was like, I feel good about this show.
Right.
We'll talk about the show as a whole probably in a minute here, but Becky winning the Rumble, I see what they did to, like, it was kind of smart where they used Rusev injuring Lana and then Lana couldn't compete. So
absolutely.
I kind of annoyed that Becky just kind of walked out, was like, just let me in, and they let her right in, like kind of thing where it's like, why didn't anybody else do that? Like, the logic gap there kind of hurts me a little bit, where like she just was like, hey, let me in, and then they're like, oh yeah, you can go in, sure, why not? And so that logic gap kind of hurt, and then the second she walked in, everyone's like, oh yeah, she's gonna win. Yeah, right. Like, there's no way she doesn't.
I thought they did a nice job though of telling that story with Charlotte though, where with the hurt leg and everything, she sold it on Monday night. Yeah. But Seth, how do you feel about Seth winning it there? I have a couple gripes with it, not as far as Seth, but how they did it. But I want to hear your opinion first.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. I didn't like the. Actually, let me look. I don't know, what was the final 3?
So it was Andrade, Strowman, Ziggler, and Seth with the final 4 in that, right?
Yeah.
So Ziggler got eliminated, then Andrade got thrown out right after that, and then it was Braun and Seth there for a minute. They kind of did the 2004 Chris Benoit Big Show thing where you got the front headlock and he kind of pulls him over at the end, and then kind of at the very last second they switched up a little bit with the curb stomp. But yeah, you know what I mean? I
was actually more mad because once we got to the final 3, I thought it was like a no-brainer that Seth was going to win.
Right.
Which is, I think that's the problem with this Rumble was I think last year, and especially the year before that, I remember talking, and we had no idea who was going to win.
Right.
Like, we assumed Shinsuke last year, and 2 years ago we just had no idea because there were so many big names. This year we were like, I think it's either like Seth or McIntyre, and then McIntyre got eliminated like 10th to last or something. He was out before 30 came out, and then we kind of sat there, and then you looked at Ziggler, Strowman, and Rollins for the final 3, and then you're like,
Yeah,
So
and Andrade too.
And Andrade.
Right, yeah, and that's the thing too, and that's my gripe too. It's not so much that because I had McIntyre winning, it's I feel like if you're going to strap the rocket to that guy at some point during the year, I feel like he could have had a better showing. I feel like, and we may be reading a little bit too much into it. I'm always a fan of Ziggler being in there, just because he's a hell of a talent, and I like Andrade too. I like the fact that they teased the Strowman victory there because I think people were going to be really not for that.
Yeah.
I like how they brought him in to replace Cena. However, I do think that if you weren't going to go with Strowman and if he was out of the Rumble, he lost his title shot and all that good stuff, and you're going to put him in there, I feel like either he needed to enter sooner and you needed just to get him out. Because then I think you would have had a more compelling case, in my opinion, because of the fact that you just took Strowman out of the title match, to then say, all right, let's just say it's McIntyre, and if you're trying to build Andrade, let him be in there too, but Andrade and then Seth, similar to what they did a couple years ago when Batista won it, but you left Roman in there at the end. Nobody assumed that Roman at that point in his career was going to be in the final two, and so everybody was behind him, even though Batista won and it was the wrong call. People were super behind Reigns, right? And you knew that. So in a situation here where you go, okay, we're going to put in a Drew McIntyre and a Seth Rollins, those were proverbial favorites going in. Then you're like, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's Shawn Michaels Undertaker.
Once you hit like the final four, I want everyone in the final four to have a legitimate
chance to win that and understand where they're going to go with it.
Because if you sit there and you look at that final four, I mean, Strowman's on. I would actually be more compelled if it was Ziggler and Rollins, because I could have definitely seen them out of nowhere pulling the trigger on Ziggler, and everyone would be give you a WTF moment of wow, Ziggler just won the Rumble somehow.
Absolutely.
But that's why I love the women's one, I think, better this year, because the final two was Becky and Charlotte.
And they put on a hell of a performance.
Either way, I could see either one winning, where this one's like Rollins and Strowman, you're like, I don't really see Strowman winning, so it made no sense for Rollins is going to somehow pull it off, and it's kind of anticlimactic to me at the end of the Rumble.
Absolutely. All right, guys, so let's shift now from just the focusing on the winners to both shows as a whole. We had a lot of great wrestling that happened over the week. Overall ratings of both shows, the TakeOver Phoenix match, I know we watched the whole thing together, as well as the Rumble. Obviously they had some pretty good matches there too. But did you have a favorite match of the weekend? Anything from either show, really? Give me your overall impressions of the weekend that WWE had, and then also your favorite match and why.
So, unpopular opinion, I don't love Rumble matches. I find them very long and boring.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really loves Rumble matches until the very end. Yeah, exactly.
But saying that, I did like the women's Rumble. I like some of the pushes. I think the Rumble is always annoying me because you got random people like Casey Catanzaro. She can stand on her hands and she can walk back into the ring.
Right.
It's cool, but it's it doesn't really add.
Yeah, of course. You have people in there that you're just trying to get exposure.
Yeah.
I think I like Johnny Gargano's match. I like that a lot. I thought that was a really good one.
Ricochet for the NXT.
Ricochet.
Right.
I always love a good Johnny Gargano and Ricochet match. I love those. So I think that was my favorite match of the whole weekend. I'm a big NXT fan, weirdly enough. I enjoy NXT. I think it's a little purer than WWE sometimes.
Right.
They don't overcomplicate it. It's just about good wrestling.
Right, and of course, you have less time, right, to complicate things. It's strictly about the storylines. It's been a little stronger. I think you have people too, especially because you're new to the wrestling scene, where a lot of these guys that are in NXT, you know who they are, right? Because we've seen them before in Ring of Honor, we've seen them in New Japan, so you kind of have a little more exposure to them, right? Like if you saw Seth Rollins in 2005 when he was in Ring of Honor, then you'd be like, okay, I'm a big Tyler Black guy who then turned into Seth Rollins. So it's kind of, you know what I mean? It's a big picture. But I agree with you. I thought the NXT North American title match was great.
Yes.
I really enjoyed actually the WWE title match between AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan. I think it was underrated for what it was. The finish, obviously, with the screwy at the end part. Yeah. But I thought that Daniel Bryan is killing it right now as a heel. I'm loving the whole vegan, environmentalist type Grizzly Adams guy. I think that is awesome. And I'm glad that there's kind of segueing away from AJ. I think AJ needs a break. And they need to kind of start building some guys. And whoever faces Daniel Bryan for that title is going to be a fantastic, fantastic match, whoever they kind of position to be that next guy. But I really enjoyed that match. I thought it's something where it kind of went under the radar for me. I enjoyed the NXT North American title match. Those are the two big matches for me. Mike, same question for you. Well, what was your favorite match and overall thoughts on the shows?
I actually, for this NXT TakeOver, was kind of not as compelling to me as other ones have.
It wasn't.
I don't actually, besides the North American champion, I was actually very disappointed in the NXT Championship match.
Yeah.
If you want to know.
I
just kind of was watching it like Aleister Black and Ciampa. I mean, they always do good stuff, but I was just like...
I was never on the edge of you're never on the edge of your seat thinking, okay, Black's going to win.
Black's going to win. Yeah.
Right.
There was never a moment where that
Absolutely
pinfall was
agree.
happening and you're like, oh my god, it's going to happen.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what hurts it
Yeah.
for me a little bit, knowing that Ciampa does retain. There's never that moment.
Right.
And so that kind of ruins it. I didn't like the women's match that much. I thought it was just kind of slow and bland.
Yeah.
I get Bianca Belair fighting through all that stuff.
Right. I don't think anything they did was necessarily groundbreaking. No. Right. It was solid throughout, but when you set a level of expectation, you know what I mean? It's hard at times to live up to that. Absolutely.
Time. So North American Championship match definitely was the top for me. On the Royal Rumble card, I would say actually Lesnar Finn Balor was probably my favorite match.
Okay.
I was most intrigued. It was only 8-minute match,
right?
Weirdly enough,
Finn gave him a hell of a run though. Yeah. You know what I mean? They made Finn look good.
Because if you want to talk about almost a close call, when he hit the coup de grace and pinned him right before Lesnar made him tap out, he was pinning him and he hit a 2 count. And I was like, oh my god, they're just gonna do it right now. It's just gonna switch over right now,
shock everybody,
and then all of a sudden he hit in his finishing move or his
the
submission, Kimura lock or whatever, and then won it. So those were my 2 matches. Overall, I think the Royal Rumble is actually better. I think overall.
I think it was a good weekend for the WWE as a whole. I think they needed this weekend. I think the Rumble winners were people that people are behind and are the 2 hottest probably right now in the business as far as Seth and Becky goes individually. I think they put the right spotlight on the right people.
And with all this AEW talk and everything that's been circulating all around the wrestling world, WWE really needed this to be like, hey, we're still here, and here we are. We can put
and just for a minute here. Both Raw and SmackDown this week too, I thought were really well done. I thought they had some pretty great segments. I thought the matches were good. I thought SmackDown was really good with the debut of this new title that they have. Ron Killings all of a sudden coming out of nowhere and winning the U.S. title in kind of a weird fashion, putting some emphasis back on the tag team division on both shows. I thought there was a lot of good points there. I thought making Seth look good were all really great. One thing, though, that I did notice, which brings us to our next topic, is Dean Ambrose. Obviously, the biggest reports coming out of probably the wrestling world outside of the Rumble is the fact that Dean Ambrose is being announced that he's leaving after WrestleMania. He's leaving WWE. And you kind of saw the writing on the wall with his Rumble appearance, right? Nothing short of bland at best, right? He came in, was there, and was out, and nobody noticed, nobody cared, right? Yeah. Comes out on Monday night, gets beat clean by Seth, which you expect, obviously. Nia Jax then gives him a shoulder bump, and apparently she's bumping with guys now, and everything else.
That was all weird.
Which was all weird, right?
Why'd she come in of anybody?
No idea, and it made it look like he's kind of beneath everybody else on the roster now, which kind of makes you think, wow, they're really burying him. He lost the Intercontinental Championship recently after making a very mediocre run at best with it. Are you shocked with him leaving, guys? Because I'm not necessarily shocked by the fact that he's leaving due to how he was booked, but I am shocked that WWE, that he's actually just turned down WWE and say, I'm gone.
You know what would be funny? And I know this won't happen. Yeah. But what if this all is just a smosh? And they're just because how many people really just go, I'm not going to sign, and then later every single person in the WWE community says, oh yeah, he's definitely not going to sign. Right. I just have this feeling that right after Mania, he's just going to come out and win something, and everyone's going to go, wait, I thought he left, what's going on? It's going to be one of those OMG moments. Probably won't happen. I'll give it a 5% chance it happens. Yeah. So I think it's going to depend on how he's booked. I know he's still working live events. Are you surprised that Dean's leaving? Because Dean's been a top guy for about 5 years now. I mean, he's been WWE champion, he's a Grand Slam champion. He's won Money in the Bank. He's had main events. He's beaten pretty much everybody there is to beat. I mean, it's a big star leaving. It really is.
It's a big star leaving, but I just don't. There's nothing interesting about Dean Ambrose. There's just not. And I don't know. Maybe he's a big star, and I know a lot of people really like him. But I never get there's not a lot of star power from him. And I think even when they book him and they change his character and he's friends with everyone, or he's lost his mind, or whatever the new thing is, he's standing by a car and stuff's on fire, or whatever the new vibe.
Hey, going hard.
I could see it. Maybe he wants more out of his career.
So you don't think then that this hurts WWE very much with him leaving?
I think there's a lot of Ambrose fans though. I'm not one of them.
Right.
I could care less if he's there.
Right.
So.
Because I do think it hurts.
I think it hurts them. There's a lot of people behind him.
He's a big star, and they've got a lot of money invested in him. I think some of the biggest telling of where he stands though within the company right now is when he got hurt, right? He was gone. When he came back, there was no pop.
No.
There was nothing. There was not a, oh my gosh, Ambrose is back. Finally. Like, it was one of those things to where you just kind of went, okay.
Yeah,
all right, he's back. Cool. That's cool. They needed some new guys. But I didn't see anything where I think he needs to leave. And then when he comes back in a couple years here, that's when he'll be his hottest again.
Right.
It's really what I think he needs to kind of similar to the Drew McIntyre thing. Drew left, not as bad obviously, but Drew left, came back now, new persona, new attitude. He's in great shape. He's better in the ring. Everything's better about Drew McIntyre, and I think the company's really behind him. Similar to the case of Dean Ambrose. I think it's just kind of time for him to leave, go do your thing, come back stronger, better than what. Go back is what JR would say. Go back and learn a new hold. Is what you said. You know what I mean? So
maybe don't go back.
Right? Oh, you don't want to come back? Oh,
I mean, he could come back, but maybe.
What if we get rid of Baron Corbin instead?
Well, that's fine. But
we can just get rid of him.
Yeah. Everybody just went, yeah. Everybody was in the show.
Everyone was just like,
I was trying to think of people who annoyed me more than Dean Ambrose.
Let's get rid of Bobby Lashley.
He's the Intercontinental Champion, doing okay things. He's going to lose it to Finn probably pretty soon. It's all good. But I mean, Mike, same question to you though. Does it hurt WWE at all for him to leave?
I mean, it hurts him. It hurts them absolutely. Yeah. At the same time, though, when you really look at it, especially since he came back, and he's done really nothing. I mean, it's kind of like, could you put someone else in his situation, and could they do the same thing?
Absolutely.
Yes. So then, is he expendable? Yes. Mm-hmm. So do they really need him? Not really. Right. It's kind of like how I look at it. Yeah. Like for any sport, though, it's like, if you have this player on the team, and if you lost him, would you be the same? Right. Yes? Then you don't need him. Mm-hmm. That's just kind of how everything is.
I think it's more of a big deal for people that are for guys that are actually in the business because he's been such a top star and it's gotten such pushes where you're like, oh my gosh, Dean Ambrose just said no to a 5-year contract, 7 figures a year. You know what I mean? Like that's I think where people are like, oh my gosh. But I agree with you. I don't think the fans as much. I think it was a shock. It was like, oh my gosh, he's actually leaving. Mm-hmm. But now that it's like WWE is trying to kind of control the narrative, I think it's kind of more of a, okay, where is he going to pop up? And that leads me to the next question is, if WWE, because obviously WWE wanted to keep him, and we've heard reports now where they're trying to sign everybody with an expiring contract to longer term deals, 5-year deals, right? All because of AEW, All Elite Wrestling, right? Do you expect more guys, not even necessarily top talent like Dean Ambrose, but do we expect more top talent to go and maybe decline a contract extension in order to kind of see what's coming? Brock's contract's coming up, right? I know Jericho's making a big push for him to possibly sign an AEW too. So there's a lot of these guys that could possibly be leaving some of their companies and going to AEW just on the simple premise that it's not WWE or it's not Impact or it's not whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, do we guys expect a more mass exodus from all these major companies to go here?
I would think so. I mean, let's be honest. If I was, just to name some people like the Revival, if you're like people like even I hate to say like someone like maybe Finn Balor, ever since recently, very recently, people like him or like people that just aren't getting the bar, like just these teams or these people that just aren't getting the push that they would want, even though some of them are champions, but you haven't seen the bar on TV and 3 months.
Just lost to a 45-year-old man in the Miz.
Right. Yeah. Or you have like all these guys. It's just like, could they just leave and go to AEW, get more exposure? It's the new hot thing right now, so everybody's going to be watching it.
Absolutely.
I don't see why not. If I was in that situation, I'm sitting there and I'm like,
at least evaluate the option.
If you're sitting there and your contract's done in May 1st, your contract's done, and you're sitting, well, Double or Nothing's May 25th.
Yeah.
Why not try to take a look at it, you know?
Right. And the same question, right? Do we expect a lot of stars? I know like Zack Ryders and the Kurt Hawkinses of the world and, a lot of these guys stay with WWE because they're not going to make the same money elsewhere, right? Where, now with AEW coming in and giving these contracts and saying, yes, we're paying you, right, how you think, how you should be paid, how you're going to be utilized, right? Even with the women and everything else like that, I think that there's a strong sense for a lot of guys who are on that fringe who think that they're being underutilized or are being misused to say, maybe the grass is greener here. And like we said, because of the money behind AEW, this is really the first place where the money's actually going to be maybe possibly comparable to WWE.
I think it's possible. I don't know about like grand mass exodus, but I could see some people. I think I almost want to be like, give it a year. Give AEW a year, and if they prove
they haven't made a show yet, so it's going to really.
Yeah, but I know, but I think they'll trickle almost. Yeah. Like I think you'll have a slow trickle, and WWE is clearly very stressed out about it. So.
Well, here's what's crazy about this, right? But this will be the last thing we kind of mention on this topic, but. When WCW really started making a push and started kind of taking some of the talent from WWF at the time, it was kind of amazing how they did it. When they first launched WCW Nitro, they went and they got Hulk Hogan. They went and got Lex Luger. They went and got Macho Man Randy Savage. They got some established talent, right? Where they weren't looked at the same anymore. They were looked at as old or past their prime. WWE's cycling a new set of talent. It's a very eerily similar situation here with AEW, where like guys like Chris Jericho, if Brock goes, that's ginormous. If Ambrose pops up there's these pillars of the company, right, that maybe aren't getting the push or aren't kind of put at that level they feel like they should still be at, or they feel like they have more to offer. They go to a company like AEW, and now the whole landscape's changed, right? And now you have this other push with already established guys like the Bucks and Cody there, you know what I mean, that are still in their primes. It's a volatile situation, and it's super exciting for all of us here on the show. Like, that's another, once Double or Nothing hits, we're going to be all over it. But let's shift now from the professional wrestling world, and we're going to end today's show, our 10th episode, that's right, double digits, with some baseball talk. There has been no activity in MLB free agency. Like, none. None in Major League Baseball, okay? Like, for instance, Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, two of the biggest names to hit free agency in a long time. They're still out there. Spring training is right around the corner, and they're still out there. Why? Somebody tell me why. Because I like, for me, you know what I mean? Like, if you're on the Tigers and you're trying to you're trying to expedite this rebuild, a guy like Bryce Harper probably going to help you with that rebuild. You know what I mean? To get guys to come here. Mike, tell me why. Why are these big names? Why haven't they signed?
I would say it's because, well, one, the contract that you probably have to give.
Oh yeah,
it's just like it's basically like half the team almost for the contract.
The salary cap is different though, right? In baseball, you know. So the luxury tax, if you're a team that you want to win, you're going to pay whatever it takes to win.
But besides that point of it, I mean, someone like Bryce Harper walks in and goes, "Hey, I want to play here. I don't know why you're not just like." Hands and knees on the ground, like, please,
please.
What do you want? Like, please come help us. But maybe some teams are looking at that baseball's not just like a one-player sport either.
Right.
Someone like Bryce Harper can help you a lot, but at the same time, if you don't have the totality of your team filed out already, then maybe it's just not something you're going to look at right now.
Right, and obviously you're going to give him $300 million.
Yeah,
that's really,
if you're like the Tigers right now, you're like, we could go get Bryce Harper, but at the same time, we have literally nothing else to offer, and like you're just going to like waste him away, and he probably doesn't want to come here anyway, and there's a lot of teams probably in that same cycle, so...
Yeah, I agree with you. That's a great point. And same question, what the heck, why are guys like Manny Machado's an all-star, Bryce Harper's an all-star, these guys are tops of their field, what the heck?
It sounds like a lot of the MLB, from like what I've heard, just as I've hung around people who like sports a lot more recently.
Right.
I feel like a lot of teams are kind of like in a rebuilding phase. Like, I don't want to say baseball is not that exciting because I don't want to aggravate anyone, but like it almost just feels like a lot of teams are like building and like kind of like
either you're up, it's either you're going up or you're going down. There's one of two options there. There's not much plateauing.
I think there's a lot of teams that are like the bottom of the parabola. They're like right there.
Yeah.
They're about to hit the bottom.
Parabola?
Yeah,
the swoopy thing.
The swoopy thing.
The U-shape in math.
For all the people in math that don't know what a parabola is, it's a swoopy
They're at the bottom of the U-shape, okay?
Right.
They're like kind of hitting the bottom, and like the Tigers are like, yeah, we're gonna suck for like 5 years, guys.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think too,
and then going back up, and I think it's just they don't want to recruit. Like you said, $300 million is
and I think
a lot.
That's the biggest thing, right? It's giving them the contract that they're expecting to get, and I think that's the reason why teams are so hesitant is because, and that kind of leads to our final topic of the day, is why are teams so hesitant to sign these mega deals? You look at a guy like Miguel Cabrera, right? He signed a $200+ million contract. He's been hurt the past 2 years. You don't know what you're going to get out of Miggy coming back, right? And that's a guy who is one of the greatest hitters ever. Ever, you know what I mean, of this generation. So you look at that, and I think teams like, even last year with JD Martinez coming in, to Boston where he was out. He was like the big fish last year, right? And it took a while for him to sign. And I think the reason, and I think some of these major league teams are now kind of figuring out that I don't want to pay Albert Pujols for years age 39, 40, 41, 42, even though I got him at 34. When you sign these 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year deals that are worth $300 million plus for some of these guys, and that's kind of what Bryce Harper's looking at. I don't want to pay for a guy, even though, okay, say he's 25, 26, however old he is now, I don't want to pay for him when he's 35.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And pay him $35 million, because in baseball, as we know, as soon as you sign that deal, it's it. You owe them that money. It doesn't matter. You cut them tomorrow, you still owe them that money. It's guaranteed. So I think that's another huge reason why some of these teams are kind of going, I don't know if I want to pay somebody till they're 50. You know what I mean? I don't want to pay a guy that long just because of that. I mean, do you guys kind of agree with that sentiment? That it's kind of like, I think baseball is kind of coming, because for years it was spend, right? And now you go to the other way and you go, yeah, you know what? Maybe we'll just wait. Maybe we'll cultivate some of these rookies. You know, the Cubs won by signing very specific big-name stars, but they cultivated it, the rest of it. They sucked for years, but then all of those draft picks came up and were players and could play.
That's what I mean, though. Yeah. Like, you don't just go out right now. You get Bryce Harper, but you have no team around you. Instead, you just, like, in baseball at least, you build up everybody. Right. And then once you get, like, I think once
one or two key pieces
you
at
get,
the end, right?
Yeah, you like once you have like everyone, and then you're like, I just need a catcher, and you're good. That's when you go out, you get the best catcher you can, and then you're like, all right, now let's make the run. And then you have like a 2-year window that you make the run, and then you kind of just fall apart. And you trade everyone away.
You sell off everybody, and you start it all over again.
That's why not a lot of baseball teams are like the Patriots or anything, because it's just so hard to keep these guys there and keep them
and there's
going.
such a steep drop off too in baseball where you're either really good or it's like, okay, I'm here and you know you're good, and then you see a big drop off all of a sudden. It's like, wow, that 35-year mark, or he 33, that's when you saw the turn from being serviceable to being a liability out there. You know what I mean? I think that's a huge thing. But that is going to be it for episode 10. Reminder, we are on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Google Podcasts. We are everywhere. And, of course, we're on YouTube. Be sure to watch the YouTube episode every Wednesday at 7 a.m. I am the host, Rob Mendyka, the Mouth of Michigan, with myself, the Merck Zone, with the brain, Emily Merkel. And thanks again to Kyle Budzanowski. We will see you guys, as always, next week.